So going back a couple of steps, so you mentioned it was a really good chapter in one of your books. You were talking about the relationship, within the insect sort of realm, with relationship between insects and plants, and how there are a few generalists out there, but how having the biodiversity in the flora, it leads to biodiversity in fauna. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, insects in particular, which make up the bulk of biodiversity on the planet, a very large proportion of them are quite specialized in what they'll eat. So the herbivores tend to only feed on one species of plant or a group of related species of plant. And there's a good reason for that, which gets a bit complicated to go into, but basically plants have evolved defenses, often chemical defenses. So there's all sorts of poisons in plants, glycosides and alkaloids and all sorts of things, which are intended to stop the plant being eaten. But if an insect manages to evolve the ability to overcome those defenses, for example, by evolving a mechanism to detoxify a particular chemical, then it can eat that plant. The plant is no longer defended. So, for example, large and small white butterflies lay their eggs on cabbages because their caterpillars are immune to the effects of the glycosides found in cabbages. Most insects aren't. So basically, each insect herbivore tends to specialize on a particular plant. But then there's a whole swathe of predatory and parasitic insects that attack the herbivores, and many of them also specialize. So there are certain species of wasp that lay their eggs inside caterpillars, including the large and small white butterflies. And those wasps tend to have a very specific host. So they will only lay their eggs in the caterpillars of a certain species of herbivore and so on. So there's a whole kind of web of life that builds from the plants. They're at the kind of the heart of everything. All the energy in the world comes from plants catching sunlight and turning it into sugars and carbohydrates, and that then feeds the herbivores that feed the carnivores and ultimately feeds us.
Sounds like a war zone out there.
Well, I mean, nature is pretty brutal. There's no getting away from it. Sometimes it's not pretty. These parasitoids I was just talking about, they eat their hosts from the inside out while they're still alive. It's pretty gruesome. But this is just what nature does. We shouldn't judge.